like Christmas.
Welcome to the world-famous Jiggy Jaguar radio program, broadcasting live from Hutchinson, Kansas. Call Jiggy right now, 267-22-JIGGY. Presenting Jiggy Jaguar.
Yes, indeed. It is the big broadcast. We are live coast to coast. In this hour, Frank Vernuccio. We will also talk to a myriad of other guests. But we are going to go to our next guest who was going to join us. L.J. Marggraff is going to be with us, and I probably just butchered their name. L.J., welcome to the broadcast. How are you, my friend?
Hey, pretty well. Are we on video or audio?
If you want to do video, you can do video. If you don't want to do video, I'll just put a photo up.
I'll be happy to do video.
Hey, that's fine. That's awesome. That's awesome. If you want to turn your gimmick on there, we will jump off the good foot and do the bad thing. So
I think it's on.
And I think
I have to turn on here.
Okay. I'm getting a yellow screen, and I know that you are not a yellow screen. I was going to make.
I don't know why. I can see. Well, give it a shot. One more try, because I can turn it off and on again.
There we are, and then we've got yellow. It's like you're a Coldplay song, but we.
Yeah, very strange. Video settings, snap camera. Oh, wait a second. FaceTime HD. Let's see if this is any better. There we go. Aha.
I think it's going to work. I think it's going to work.
So
we have got a great guest with us today. Joins us live here on our big broadcast. So tell us a little bit about your background, and then we will we'll jump up into the topics here. Tell me a little bit on your background.
Absolutely. So my name is Jim Marggraff. You came close. And I am a serial inventor and entrepreneur. Background at MIT, was in telecommunications for a while, and then decided to try to help the world. I traveled a fair amount, and I've learned that people in the United States don't know geography. It's very embarrassing. And so I created a first tool that was made technology to make a three-dimensional surface touch responsive, and applied this to a sphere that was 12 inches, put it on a base with a processor and a stylus, and made a talking globe. And from there,
look at that.
Because I said, gee, if we're really leaders in this world, and we don't know not only place name geography, we don't know cultures, languages, governments, currencies, lots. We need to know more. So from there, my kids were 2 and 4, was watching them learn to read, and said, wow, if we took that same sensing technology we had for the globe, flattened it out, put paper on top of it, we could give kids a whole new way to learn to read. So I took this idea and I created something called the Leap Pad. Do you know Leapfrog makes learning products for children?
Yes, indeed.
So created this tool,
yes, indeed.
And that was quite incredible. That was in the late 90s, and we helped 100 million kids in a period of about 5 years. And the Leap Pad was in 77% of households with kids from 4 to 7 years of age in less than 5 years in the United States. So
that's amazing.
Thank you. So from there, I encountered a company that let you print dots on a piece of paper, and they let you create put a camera and a pen so you could write on paper and make a digital copy of your ink. So I said, wow, what if we could make that pen fully multimodal, so you could support reading, writing, speaking, and listening? So I acquired the technology. I did that. I did a product inside Leapfrog, and then I started another company called LiveScribe to make a smart pen that you could use to write notes in a meeting, and it would capture your ink digitally on paper, but also record audio. So you could be writing a note in a meeting and record the audio and go back and touch your ink on the paper, and the pen would play back what was spoken at that moment in time.
Wow.
So it won. We helped millions of people around the world with that. And from there, happened to find a technology that was supporting wearable eye tracking for people who are locked in with ALS and other neurological disorders. So created eye tracking that would work in a headset like AR or VR headset, and sold that company. Started that in 2013, sold it to Google. That was my 6th company in 2016. And then lo and behold, I hadn't planned to start another one, but became so concerned about the future of our children and the future of this world and the need we have to listen, to understand, and also to have basic education worldwide, starting with our kids with literacy, and then develop from there an understanding so that we can solve the problems that we're facing in the future decades to come. So decided to approach that and founded Canoe back now 2 years ago.
Wow. Well, you have accomplished a heck of a lot. Wow. So tell us a little bit about, I guess I do want to talk about your current projects, but I want to also talk about this leapfrog thing. This became a worldwide sensation. Why do you think that was?
It's the same ingredients, if you will, that I've decided to pull out now 20 years later and apply to Canoe. And they were this. We focused on reading to help kids learn to read.
Yes.
And every parent that has a young child, if I ask you, Jiggy, when do you think reading begins for a child?
I think it begins as soon as they can pop out of the womb. Personally, but
that's a great.
Maybe not. I'm sure there is I'm sure there is some sort of scientific thing that that it begins at age 5 or some kind of shit. Well,
most people will say, I mean, if you ask parents, you'll get different responses. Well, it starts at age 2, age 3, age 4, age 5, or it begins when they can recognize letters, or it begins when they know their alphabet, or it begins when they can sound out words. I'll tell you when reading begins. You nailed it. Reading begins when kids are read aloud to. And here's why. Because kids learn language at, of course, very young age, and they learn this through verbal speech. They hear parents speaking. And they begin to prune the neurons that allow them to recognize those sounds, and eventually they have an oral language. However, reading is different. The reason reading is different is because the reader is reading writing that has been organized in sentences and paragraphs around stories, which is different than oral communication. What that means is when you read to a child, and you're reading to that child even, as you said, possibly in the womb. Some parents read to their kids before they're born. But when that child does pop out, and that child is exposed to a parent that reads to them, that parent is exposing them to vocabulary that child wouldn't otherwise hear, because I promise you, even any young kid's book has vocabulary, unless it's designed as a decoder. But they have other words, there's sentences, the child is hearing sentence structures, there's an object association as the parent points at pictures and hears the words. So reading aloud is the beginning of reading for a child. After that, it moves into recognizing letters and names and sounds and what is called decoding with phonics and other approaches that allow the child to translate those symbols into words and then eventually become fluent at reading. But it starts at birth. So let's go back now to Leapfrog.
Yes.
Leapfrog, we launched a Leap Pad, and I created this concept from the globe, as I said before. And in a couple of reasons it worked, we understood kids and we understood a couple things. Their need to master and control an environment. They wanted to master things, and we give them the opportunity to master games and succeed. To control it is very simple to control. They had a stylus, they could touch pages and get sounds and feedback, and with narrative stories, and we had many layers of fun. But we also were very sensitive to their emotional needs, to engage them with stories and engage them with a sense of completion, again, mastery and accomplishment. So a combination of the structure with the emotions tied around paper books, static art, a kinesthetic tool, this thing that they move in their hand, they touch, and then audio feedback. And we created a whole new language around kids learning to read. And we helped, as I said, probably 100 million kids in about a 5-year period.
Just amazing. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. Now, in doing my research on you, I always love that line when people use it on me. Usually, when they use it on me, it's bad. When I do it on guests, it's because I have all sorts of weird questions. With this whole leapfrog thing. You were the lead voiceover talent for Leapfrog. Why did you get replaced along the way?
Well, actually, I didn't. I was replaced when I left the company.
Ah,
So I
okay.
stayed there for the whole time. Not only that, but my son Blake, who played the voice of Tad. We were a tiny company. When I sold Explorer that made the globe to Leapfrog, we were about a
Yeah.
dozen people each. That was it. It was tiny. And so
Wow.
we had to watch funds, startup company. And so we looked for talent, non-union, it was a good way to approach it. And I went in and I auditioned and my son auditioned and we were chosen. And so I continued to say things like, "Welcome to the LeapPad learning system," and
That's awesome.
and then much more.
So, with Canoe now, what are some of the things that you've taken from LeapPad and Leapfrog and all these things and learned along the way to doing what you're currently doing now?
Yeah, well, thank you. And first of all, life, learning, passion are about relationships with
Yes.
people. And so we started Canoe with developing a means to connect. This is COVID era. Connect remote grandparents with young loved ones with a
Yep.
video chat that we enhanced. We enhanced it with character. We enhanced it with bespoke gameplay that was designed around collaboration. We supported the grandparent with comments to help them know what to say and when to say it to keep the child engaged while they're playing the games and to ask them questions for bonding. And we even added a wand to it that supported augmented reality. So a child could literally take their wand and it could turn into a whisk while they're making cookies, or they could scoop out some batter or crack an egg, or it could put a fishing rod on the screen and they could fish and the grandparent could put a fish on the hook. So we did some very creative things around interaction with video chat. But here's the big next step. So we said, we've got something now that works to connect people. And we have this wand. And I went back to my passion around learning and around reading.
Yeah.
And what we've created now is a wand that takes the LeapPad, if you will, into the 21st century. Some people call it a Nintendo Wii for books. Because
Nintendo
in your
Wii for
hand,
books.
you take a plain paper book. So imagine being able to go into your child's bedroom, find their favorite book, pull it off the shelf, take your Canoe wand, a reading wand, and with that wand, either you or the child could have that book read by the wand to the child on their own at age 3, 4, 5. So you would read to them when they want, and you could supplement your reading with sound effects, music, and games that become movement games for the child. And when the child wants to work with that book alone because you're busy, and you might really want to, but you might not have the time or energy, and some folks can't read that well.
Yeah.
Now the child can have that book read to them and interact. So it's not just passive reading, where they listen to it and look at the pictures, but they read and they interact. So they move in response to things that are contextually relevant in the story at that moment in time, which reinforces the learning, the reading, the thinking, and everything that's so important to help a child develop long-term reading and understanding skills.
Wow. That is fantastic.
I gave a lot there. We can take that apart if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk to us about some of this and lay this out for us. You're the expert here, my friend.
Right. Well, thanks. So let's see. I'd like to speak about movement for a second.
Yes.
It's all learning is in the last 20 years. There's a field developed called embodied cognition. Embodied is EMBODIED, embodied cognition. And what this means is, up until a few decades ago, people thought learning was about your brain, and what you learn is just what your brain does. And your brain is kind of distinct from the rest of your body.
Yep.
And what we've learned is it's not. In fact, the best learning occurs when you can recruit as many neurons from different parts of your brain as possible when you're learning an idea, or you'd like to recall something, reinforce an idea. So you want to involve more of your brain. And so how do you do that? Well, if you're sitting still, as kids do in a classroom, so you're sitting in the classroom, most kids sit, they listen, they look, they write. And that's the kind of didactic, sage on a stage learning that goes on in a classroom. Yeah. Now imagine that when that teacher wants to spend some time with a child that needs some very specific attention, instead of continuing to speak to the whole class all at once, the kids in that classroom can participate with different forms of technology on their own, tailored to them, and they can continue to learn. And that learning they're doing at that point involves motion and movement. Okay, so I went down a long thread around learning, but let's pull it back to the movement piece of it. because I'd like to do an experiment, and for your listeners, and for you as well. So let's try something. I'm going to teach you a new word, and I'm going to teach you a new concept. And at the end of this, you will remember it indelibly forever.
Okay.
Here we go.
Let's
so
go.
Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to take your arms and hold your fingers out, one pointing, your index finger pointing straight up in each hand, and separate them by about 18 inches. Okay, hold them out there. Okay, if you can see me, I don't know if anybody can on video, but imagine anyone's listening right now. Take your fingers, hold them 18 inches apart at arm's length, point your index finger straight up. Okay, now look at your right finger. Just gaze at that right finger and stare at it. Now look at the left finger without moving your head. Move your eyes to the left finger, now move them back to the right finger. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to ask you to do something, but listen to my instructions. Look at your right finger. Not yet, but when I tell you to, I want you to move your eyes slowly, smoothly, and continuously. Not yet, in a moment. Slowly, smoothly, continuously from your right finger to your left finger over a 3-second continuous sweep. Okay? Not yet. So get ready. So what you're going to do, you're going to look at that right finger slowly, gradually. I want you to try this. I'm watching you, Jiggy. So look at that right finger, get ready, and then do a smooth, slow, continuous sweep from the right finger to the left finger. One slow, smooth, 3-second sweep. Ready? Here we go, now. Okay, I'm watching your eyes. I can see you. They're
yes.
Dink, 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 dink. They're not going one smooth sweep. I see them moving a little bit at a time.
Yeah, I'm clueless with most tasks. I am amazed I can actually get the name of the show correct.
Well, I told you, it wasn't just you, but if anyone listening tried to do this, you can't do it. And what you just, now hold your arms out again. Look at your right finger. Move your right from your right finger to your left finger. Look at your right finger. Move your eyes from your right to your left, just as fast as you can. Go, and then move them back again. That motion you just did is called a saccade.
A saccade.
Saccade, yes. It's S-A-C-C-A-D-E. And now I'm going to give you a way to remember it using movement and embodied cognition. So let's take saccade, that word, which just means your eyes move from point to point, which is the way your eyes move all the time. You don't realize this. By the way, that movement when your eyes move from one finger to the other rapidly, that was about 30 milliseconds, 30 thousandths of a second. They move really fast. It's predictable, completely predictable. And during that period of time, when your eyes move from the one finger to the next finger, you were blind. You didn't see anything. If you try, go home later on, look in your eyes in the mirror tonight, and watch your eyes and try to look at your eyes as you look from the right eye to the left eye and back. You can't see your eyes moving. When your eyes are moving, you don't see. So that's a saccade. Now, a saccade. Let's have fun with this. Saccade. Let's go suck and cod. Okay? This is G-rated. But now take your finger and put it in your mouth and imagine that's a cod and you're sucking on it. Ready? Here we go. Oh. Okay.
So saccade is
cod. Suck cod is a cod, and now you will remember suck cod or saccade forever. And
saccade
is when you're moving from point to point. Now look what we just did. I just taught you something using motion. You're using your hands, using your whole body, using your eyes, your thinking. Then I gave you a mnemonic, and then I tied the mnemonic to motion. You know, putting your finger in your mouth, and I said, "Let's suck on cod." So that's suck cod. So if anybody after this goes home, try this experiment. Ask somebody to hold their fingers apart and move their eyes. You can't. By the way, if you now look at that finger and hold it at a distance, and you move it slowly left and right, and you track it, now your eyes will move smoothly. That's called a smooth pursuit. But you can't do it without having an object to follow. And by the way, that was part of iFluence. I developed this technology that let you control what you see in VR/AR with your eyes in a whole new way. And it was based around these simple principles that most people don't know. But it all grew out of, let's back up, pop the stack, go back up. So it's about learning through embodied cognition. That means using your body, different forms, your different senses. So it's not just in your brain. So teaching kids. So what are we doing at Canoe? We've got this wand that interacts with a book, but it doesn't stop with audio coming out. It has lights on it, colored orbs that flash, has sound that comes out of it, it speaks, and it responds to your motion. So when you move, for instance, you're listening to a story and it's talking about driving, and you hear this, and it says, "Hey, can you grab your wand and turn the wheel?" And so now a child grabs the wand, or adult does as well, and they start turning and they're driving. And they're using their imagination because it's just sound coming out of the wand talking about the driving. It says, turn left, and everybody turns their arms left and then turns right. And so we're engaging them in something where they are participating imaginatively, extending the idea of the story, making the story more real. And that's just one of thousands of examples of bringing a story to life for a child on their own.
That's amazing. No wonder you are, you've got, like, according to my research, 36 patents. No wonder.
Actually, yeah, it's about almost double. It hit my age this year, so hit 64.
Wow.
So I have every year that I've lived, and so yeah, I keep going. We could have a fun on another discussion, because I can talk to you about how to create things, because there is a way, there's a methodology you can apply to become more creative, and I'd like to write this and up to help people learn this. But it can be, you can teach it. And I wrote a book a few years ago here. It's called How to Raise a Founder with Heart. And those are my two kids now, 18 years ago or so here. And by the way, we donate profits to this to charity. So this is not plugging for money, but Forbes recognized this as an important book. But I talk about many of these ideas in this book as well.
Well, we definitely are going to have to do this again, because you are fantastic. Just all the different things that you've done. Before we let you go for today, how do we get in touch with you online and learn more about Canoe and everything else?
Thank you. Thanks. Well, let's see. First of all, I'll tilt my screen a little bit. So this is our logo. This is Canoe. And Canoe is K-I-N as in kinship, which means family.
That's awesome.
Okay. And the two O's together are an infinity sign. That's connecting people, older and younger loved one, with happiness. So that's Canoe. So our website is canoe.com, Kinoo.com, and you can learn more about what we have going on there. But here's what I'd say, Jiggy. If you or your audience, anyone would like to reach out, we're looking for a small number of families to engage in some testing that we're doing on new advancements in reading. And we're going to be doing it this coming year. And I'm looking for families that have kids from birth through up to 6 years of age that would be interested in participating with us. And we'll supply free gear. We want to engage families with young kids, because this is how we make great product.
Yes.
By involving families and kids, listening, watching, working with them. But I can tell you that I'm very serious about this. My commitment to helping kids and helping our world is paramount to me at this age. And from my 7 companies that I founded, and also my kids both are founders of companies. Both one has founded a nonprofit, the other has already sold his company, and one of them.
That's awesome.
Thank you. He won the Intel Science Fair a few years ago as the world leader. It's kind of like a Nobel Prize for high school kids. So I offer this only to say that I would love to work with some people. So here's what you do. Just go send an email. You can go to the website, and there's a support page there, or send an email to support@Kinoo.com. And we'll take the first, the first probably 20 to 30 people that send a note. You can say, Jim, my name is Jim. Say, Jim, heard you or saw you on Jiggy Jaguar show, and then we'll reach out. We'll be in touch, because I'd like to find some families that are serious about really caring about their kids learning to read and help them advance their kids in totally new ways that will, I believe, be life-changing for them and their families.
I think that is awesome. Well, you are amazing, and I definitely want to do this again, because you have got all sorts of things going on, and I would love to get you on with our good friend Dan Perkins as well. So I will definitely be in touch. And thanks for making some time for us today. Thanks for coming on and chatting with us. This has been fun. We'll definitely have to do this again, my friend.
Thank you, Jiggy. Appreciate it. Take care.
Definitely. Have yourself a wonderful day. There he goes. The fantastic guest. And if you want to get more information,